This is the Shawn Yankey Show.
And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
Today, we've had a national tragedy. 2 airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack.
This episode of the Shawn Yankey Show is being brought to you by the support of viewers like me. We realize the importance of independent media and truth in this time of mass deceit and propaganda. We have decided to fight for and support it to keep it alive. You can help us in this fight for truth. Contribute at patreon.com/Shawn Yankey. Thanks for coming to the show. It'll begin soon.
Hey, everybody, get in here. It is time for the week in review from the Shawn Yankey Show. What this is I take up all of the episodes from the whole week and I edit them up and take all the highlights out, put them together, and we watch it. So you're going to have news night, motivation, conspiracy theories and chill, rant night, and our special guest, Philip Polk Palmer. We're going to go through all of the highlights of that. And that's what we do every Saturday night. So this is a really good opportunity to invite people in and introduce the show to them. Let them get an experience of what it's like, what the Shawn Yankey Show is like. So share this out everywhere. This is a really good way to show people what the show is about and what we do here. But let me say hi to everybody because this is live. I will be here with you guys, watching with you in the comment section. Tonight I get to be a peep. I get to peep out with you guys. But Lolly's here. Lolly got first. Hey, Helen, Joan, Darlene, Marie, Dolores, Heath, Karen, Pat. Good to see y'all. Hey, Kathy. All right. So like I said, this is the week in review. And so we're going to go through the whole week starting with Monday. And I took highlights out from each day. We're going to watch it back. And tagging's been weird lately, they're saying. Does not surprise me. Does not surprise me. But if you guys are ready, we have a lot to get through. So we're going to go ahead and start. I'm going to bring this over. Hey, Edward. I haven't seen you in a while, man. It's good to see you could make it. We're going to start the week in review. So if you guys are ready, I'm going to get the video playing. Let me switch this over. I just wanted to show you this one because Biden made an address to mark 500,000 virus deaths. Look at this. Look at the theater here. The black curtain. All black pretty much. Why is she always dressed like a Sith Lord? Kamala Harris is always dressed like an evil Sith Lord. Anyways, look, I mean, just look how the imagery here. But yeah, he made an announcement of the 500,000 deaths, when at the same time, mainstream sources are admitting that they were reporting even cases as deaths. They were drastically overinflating these numbers. And that's why they're dropping. That's why they're down by 17%. It has nothing to do with anything. Like they say, they can't even tell you why. They can't tell you why the cases are down, just that they're down. They tell you outright that it's not because of the jab. They don't know why. I know why. They're no longer manufacturing a fear agenda, but at the same time, they are. They're trying to keep you as afraid. The media is not reporting that cases are down 17%. You're not seeing that. It's not being celebrated in the media or even reported. But they're pushing shit like this with this cryptic imagery and all this death symbolism. This is the video I wanted to show you guys. So Biden, who puts his foot in his mouth almost every time he opens it, has now dropped the N-word again. He's having more and more slip-ups trying to speak and navigate the English language. But this word has slipped out of his mouth again. So I wanted to play this real quick and look at it with you guys in case you missed it.
Look, the range of challenges Europe and the United States must take on together is broad and complex. I'm eager to hear next from my good friends and outstanding leaders.
Did you miss it? Let's hear it again.
And outstanding leaders. Chancellor Merkel about her thoughts, my good friends and outstanding leaders.
Oh my God!
I'm eager to hear next from my good friend.
There it was. No, that's hilarious. He's eager, and for some reason, when he tries to recall the word eager again, it comes out the N-word. I just thought that was funny. I like to point out anytime Biden messes up when he speaks. Matter of fact, there's a great article on the ShawnYankieShow.com about different times that Biden has put his foot in his mouth. A lot of different examples. And please go check that out, or any content on the ShawnYankieShow.com. Please go over there and visit that. That's our official website. But this article I just wanted to look at real quick. You know, it talks about how now we are all seen as domestic terrorists. We are all seen as enemies of the state. This particular article is focusing on how conservatives and anyone that supported Trump is being seen as an enemy of the state right now. But it is a blanket that will encompass us all. The wording on these new domestic terrorist bills that they're trying to roll out, and the laws and restrictions and et cetera that they're trying to put in place in the name of domestic terrorism is inclusive of almost all groups. In fact, there's hundreds of civil rights groups that are up in arms about these bills that are on the floor to label people domestic terrorists. But this will easily lump people into a group equated with the word terrorist, which comes with all the same implications of the word. You will be treated without due process, with no rights, as an enemy of the state, just for having different views, for opposing views. And what those views are will change. They're censoring liberals now too. They will get around to you just because they're not attacking your political group or particular group even at the moment. Doesn't mean that they never will. We will all be enemies of the agenda unless you're completely in line with it, because any dissent is being seen as domestic terrorism, and they're actually trying to make it into law. And again, like Ty was explaining, we need to pay attention to this shit and we need to understand it, because they're actually trying to take authority they don't have. We don't have to go along with this shit. We don't have to give our consent to it. And we need to make sure that as a societal group that we do not. But I wanted to show you something else, that this crazy ass supervillain that is not a doctor, an expert in any field, or even a college graduate is up to now. Supervillain Bill Gates has now got an agenda against math. Well, racist math. He's against racist math, which I didn't know there was racist math. I didn't even know math could be racist. But if you're asked to show your work, if your teacher asks you to show your work in a math question that is apparently racist, don't ask me to explain to you how. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I hope somebody maybe could tell me, because from a place of complete ignorance, this is insanity. But it goes along with the agenda. None of the agenda makes sense. You just want to eliminate and chip away and cut off anything that could be seen as offensive, but then who decides that? I don't understand how in the hell this is offensive. But yes, the Gates Foundation is attacking racist math, which I thought was noteworthy. This I thought was noteworthy as well. Helen the Felon shared this with me. This is unreal. So a Seattle homeless shelter is buying heroin pipes with city funds and teaching a rectal injection method for said heroin, which is apparently, I guess, supposed to be safer. I don't know, but yeah, it says here, booty bumping kits. It's a good choice if your veins are hard to hit, less risk of infection and abscesses, less damage to the skin and veins, and doesn't leave tracks. So yeah, it's a better way to do your heroin. That's crazy. It's crazy. I just felt like that was worth mentioning. Matter of fact, the little gas station by my house now has pump protectors on each pump, and they give instructions on how to cleanly inject heroin and what to do if you have an overdose, and that you should always inject with a group of people. I don't know. It seems a little weird to me to be on a gas pump. But the last thing I wanted to bring up, I'm only going to bring it up because it's the elephant in the room. It would be irresponsible not to bring it up. But he's right. The Supreme Court has decided that they will allow the release of Trump's taxes, which Trump says is continued political persecution, which is exactly what it is. Look, he's no longer president. Why do we need to see his taxes anymore? Why are we still doing this? Why is he remaining in the news? Because he will stay their boogeyman. They will keep him in the news. Hell, I'm feeling real strong about placing a bet that he'll run in 24. And we're not done with this. Shit, he might win. They're acting so crazy, you just never know. But he is playing a role, I think. But this is political persecution. This is ridiculous. Nonsense at this point. I just wanted to bring it up because they did decide this. So we will be seeing them soon. You know, they've been clamoring for them forever. So hopefully they're happy with them and they're a good read. But yeah, it's bullshit. And, you know, we talked last week about how they're trying to pass a bill to take any public funds away from being able to be used on President Trump. So no library, no burial at Arlington Cemetery, none of this, no roads named after him, etc. Trying to erase him from history. as their supervillain. Now, they probably won't do it or get to do it, but it's just that they're going to keep trying and keeping him in the news and making sure it stays in the news cycle and in everybody's mind how terrible he was. You know, these same people that are hugging up on George W. Bush at every opportunity and talking about how great he is. You know, Trump, I don't even think I could vouch for how good a person he is, but he's no supervillain. There's no enemy of the state like they're trying to make him out to be. It's horseshit what they're doing in theater. Hughes said they made him relevant. Yes, they built that monster. The Democrats did. And that was proven in the WikiLeaks. They wanted to run against Donald Trump. They built him up. I remember when they would film an empty Donald Trump podium instead of holding a footage of a Bernie rally, for example. You know, that's a real instance. They gave him billions of dollars in free publicity. Built that monster from the ground up. You're absolutely right. Lolly says, what are they going to find out? He's not as rich as he said. He used the tax loopholes that they wrote and used. Yeah. First off, he said openly that he did use the tax loopholes and shit like that. He was upfront about that. And you know, it turned out that even the Clintons were using one of the same tax dodging real estate or pieces of real estate that he was using, you know, to have a mailbox so you can avoid paying taxes. Clintons were using the same building. No one wanted to talk about that shit. And he was out front about it. He admitted it. They made him a smart business person. And it does. He's telling you the truth. You want to close the loopholes, close them. But don't be mad at somebody for using them if they're there. You know, don't hate the player, hate the game. Focus on the right place, the right enemy. Jessica's right. Political theater. By design. Trump, the ideal deflection. He played an amazing role. Very, very good. Think about it. Think about, just follow her down the rabbit hole for just a second. If he was involved the entire time. Let's go with that theory for just a second. What happened as a result of the Trump presidency? First off, nothing to the opposite of what they already intended. The global agenda moved forward unhindered. Second, tons of people have identified themselves and conveniently placed themselves on lists and came out of the woodwork and exposed themselves as dissenters to this global agenda. And now they will focus on eliminating these people. First off, by silencing them, and then downright eliminating them. So we really just exposed ourselves and were conveniently distracted for 40 years, is what came out of the Trump presidency. And Roe lives for loopholes. You gotta teach me. I'm so bad with money. Money is like water in my hands. I can't keep it. I'm bad about treating myself. You know, I do believe you live your dreams, but I'm bad with money. I need help. Trying to learn. I actually tried to invest. Not much, $20, but I'm getting in on this Dogecoin thing. Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, and a few other celebrities are pushing this cryptocurrency called Dogecoin. And it's only like 5 cents a piece at the moment. Now, just the story of Bitcoin and the fortune that Elon made on that is reason enough to be like, to raise an eye to, well, maybe I should get in on it while it's 5 cents. So I did. I bought like 300 of them bitches. So whatever, I'm not going to spend any more money on it. I'm not telling you to invest. I'm just saying the richest man in the world is plugging the shit out of on his Twitter Dogecoin. So I bought $20 worth. I'd rather have $20 worth and 2 years from now find out it's worth 7 cents and be like, oh, well, then not get the $20 worth and then find out it's worth 50,000 a piece like Bitcoin. So I just felt like I'm going to get in on that and I'm going to tell you about it because We got to play their game from time to time. You know, I don't want to work for the man for the rest of my life. And shit, if I can get some diamond hands, why not? Play them stonks. I like your shirt.
It's fucking sweet, ain't it?
It's a sweet ass shirt. Where'd you get a sweet shirt like that?
Kmart.
Kmart? You got it under a blue light?
Blue light. They had it on the discount. They were getting rid of them.
No, not a sweet shirt like that. That's got to be from a special store.
It is actually. It's from the Shawn Yankee show store type deal.
What?
Yeah.
That's unreal, man. They must have
Crazy.
some pretty awesome shirts. That one is nice. I like that slogan. I
It is
believe in
fucking
that.
sweet.
I think I agree with that.
I agree with it.
Yeah.
I agree.
So how are you? How are you doing on this fine Tuesday morning?
Good. I'm tired. Work fucking kicked my ass last night.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Why'd you let it do that? You only give them what they pay for.
Well, they gave me a nice substantial raise, so
Oh,
I'm giving them
they got
what
you
they
feeling
pay.
guilty, like you should give them a little extra.
No,
I think you might have gave them too much.
I may have. I was fucking beat too. Last night I couldn't even barely walk.
How's your arm?
My pussy was hurting. My arm's good. Really good. I think it's all healed up. That's why I'm like, all right, I'm back. I can start working again. So, but I did this last time. As soon as I started feeling good, I started wrenching on shit and fucked it up again. So,
Now you're like a boss, right? You got lackeys. You can have them do the wrenching.
no, but the new job that I'm getting now, I will.
Hmm.
Right now in Toledo, I'm working out there helping out, but they have a head mechanic.
How far of a drive is that for you?
Toledo?
Yeah.
Like 30 minutes, if that. It's close.
So that ain't bad.
Mm-mm.
I drive that far to work.
The new job's like 40 minutes away.
Yeah. Ain't
So
bad
it's a
either.
little
Not
bit
too
further, but yeah, not too bad. Because what
I'm
I want to do
thinking
is,
of getting into a different career.
I would if I was you. Don't hesitate ever. I mean,
No, I am.
shit.
I was at my flower shop yesterday, and I was like, man, this is where I want to work. If I'm gonna have to do a job, sweet ass coffee mug too. You've been to that Shawn Yankee Show store. I can tell. You got some gear. That is a nice coffee mug. I think those are cool. But anyways,
wait
what was
to
I
get it.
saying? I forgot.
You're
I want to
talking
be a
about
bud
how
tender.
you're gonna.
I want to be a bud tender.
That's it. Live your dreams.
For now, while I do something, if I have to do something to support myself, I'd love for it to be something that I would enjoy doing, and I could also help people while I'm doing it.
Well, you have to fix the odds in your favor. So whenever I go looking for a job, I'll go to 7, 8 different places, and I put in what I want, what I know I'm worth. So eventually, one of them calls. This time around, like all 7 called. But if you put it in, you know what I'm saying? Don't put in just the one and then be disappointed. You're like, oh man, I didn't get it, didn't get a call back. You know what I'm saying? Just fucking. What you do is you put in different options, like 5 or 6. This is how I play with the frequency. I'll put in 5 or 6 options of places to work, put in the applications, and then let God sort it out.
Actually erasing Donald Trump.
That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it to where he'll never run again. They know they can't do it legally, so they're just going to keep pressuring him constantly. You know,
Well,
like right now,
this month,
taxes.
so far we've had no stimulus checks, no student debt cancellation, no health care. We're still got kids in cages, resuming mass deportations, resuming the Jones Act, moved troops to Syria, started defense partnerships with Riyadh, bowed to Netanyahu, and is starting war with Iran. So it's going fantastic.
Fantastic. Just like it did. This is Obama Part 3.
Oh, yeah. You know, and look, I don't know that he'll be the face of it for very long. I don't see him lasting through his first year.
I do.
But I could be wrong. They could prop him up for a long time.
Remember Dick Cheney and George Bush?
Yeah.
Dick Cheney ran the country. The whole world knew it. We knew it. We were fucking young and we knew it.
And why is she always dressed like a fucking Sith Lord?
I think Obama's the president.
You think Obama's still running things behind the scenes?
I do.
He acts like he is on a global scale.
I do. Well, I look at numbers and stats and things. When you look at what's going on, and these guys are all full of shit, and you see what's happening, we're going all the way back to exactly what it was before Trump became president.
They're going to flirt with Trump becoming president again and leave him as a boogeyman. And he's playing along.
Yep.
You see he's going to attend the RNC donor summit.
That's a that's a troll move.
It's a troll move, yeah, but I also feel like he's kind of playing into it. He's going to be their boogeyman. He's willfully accepting the role.
And what the fuck are taxes anyways? That's nothing. That's just another distraction.
Oh, you're talking about the Supreme Court ruling that he has to release his taxes now?
Yeah.
A distraction, political theater. I mean, it makes no sense. Like Lolly was saying, all you're really going to find out is that he's not as rich as he says he is, and he uses all these tax loopholes that they all use. But I just thought it was funny that he is staying connected with the Republican National Committee and is going to attend their donor summit and is still flirting with the MAGA movement continuing and all of that. And being that I feel he was a distraction, that worries me.
Newsmax was saying he's going to start the campaign against certain GOPs.
Oh, yeah.
He wants to split up the GOP party and bring some to.
So kind of make his own MAGA wing.
Yeah, he wants to make sure he's got his people in place, I guess, before he starts his party. So he wants to make.
I know, and again, I could be wrong about him and his intentions. I want this hero worship to die off as much as I want the vilification of Trump to die off. I want both to go away.
How is he still breathing if he's not in on it some way or another? Or
right.
If they're not at least making money off of it. Even if he's not in on it, he's not dangerous enough. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, they don't care. They do it in broad daylight in front of everybody. They don't care. So he's dangerous, but he's obviously not too dangerous to them. And the taxes thing, like I said, that's all fundraising, man. That's how they make their money. Both sides, Republicans and Democrats. Every time they bring Trump into some bullshit, they fucking bring in millions of dollars each way.
Did you see this? Coca-Cola wants you to be less white.
Nice.
I know, right? They're teaching this. It was workplace diversity training.
El Niso.
They're teaching their employees to be less white. And it's actually very interesting what they think being white means.
Oh, they have standards and guidelines too?
Oh, it was very detailed. And it was an entire workplace training program to be less white. And then there's examples on what it's like, what it means to be white. And mostly it's just using authority over anybody. So you just need to be more submissive is how to be less white, basically.
Jeez.
In a nutshell. But I'm going to try to be more white. I'm going to double down. And I'm already a Pepsi guy anyway.
Cool. Get you some khaki shorts.
Yeah, I'm wearing a belt with everything. I'm going to tuck in every shirt, even T-shirts.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to wear a fanny pack.
Pull the socks up.
Fuck it. I'm going to embrace my heritage.
And Crocs.
Crocs every day. I'm going to get different color Crocs.
Get winter Crocs, too. They make them.
What are winter Crocs?
Get some winter Crocs.
Do they have fluffy insides?
I have no idea. I just made that shit up.
But I'm sure it's out of hand now. This is why I'm going to double down on my whiteness. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is now going after racist math.
Oh, yeah, because you have to show your homework.
Why is that racist? Can you explain that to me?
I can't even.
Why is it racist to show your work? Because that's exactly right. That's what they say is racist about math.
Not even in a funny way. I can't think of anything.
Work.
I can't think of anything. I can't. Not even to be joking.
I know, but they're not joking. They're very serious about this, and I think trying to make math racist even now is just extreme. This is divide and conquer is all this is. Your skin color is just random. You were born this way.
No, what they're doing is they're being nonchalantly racist. What they're doing, literally what they're saying is that minority kids aren't smart enough to fucking do the work without cheating. So you're saying that it's racist for them to show the work, on the page.
That literally has to be what they're implying, right? That's literally
what they're implying. No, have you not listened to Joe lately? He's always fucking back on it, doubling down. He even said the N-word yesterday.
I know. I played it on the news.
He's doubling down. And the other day he was like, black kids, they're not smart enough to use the internet.
What?
Like, are you fucking serious, Joe? Fuck yeah.
But it's melanin levels in your skin. It's the dumbest shit to be proud of, and it's also the dumbest shit to hate someone over.
I don't get it. There's got to be a tactic behind it. Got to be a tactic behind it.
I think so. I think
I don't know what it is yet, but there's got to be a tactic behind it. You're
racist
literally
math. That's crazy.
Racist math right after you just told them they weren't smart enough to even use the fucking internet.
I think it's more racist to say that you're not smart enough to show your own work. So you're right.
You're saying all minorities cheat. All minorities are stupid. But what else are they going to say other than dropping the N-word? But I mean, these are racist assumptions that these guys are making. This is totally different than Joe dropping an N-bomb.
This is offensive.
And then remember during Joe's run, he said, hey, minority kids are just as smart and talented as white kids. Shit.
That's what he said. You're right. You had the quote right.
It's like, what the fuck?
Just as smart and talented as white kids. Like, that's the ultimate standard, white kid. And then they're just as good as a white kid. It's ridiculous. He also had a fantastic quote about school segregation.
He said, poor kids are just as smart and talented as white kids. That's what he said. Because he's basically making the assumption that all minorities are poor. So these guys keep doing these labels, man, and nobody fucking gets it. Nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. What?
Didn't you see that?
Yeah, what did that idiot do?
Yeah, this Florida man was arrested in a jail parking lot. Minutes after being released from jail, he was busting into cars in the parking lot of the jail. I don't know. He must just really love jail. I'm not sure. But I just love the Neanderthal look of this dude.
Shit.
What is in the water in Florida that makes people act so freaking crazy? There's tons of these Florida stories.
Gator piss?
Gator piss.
That's the only thing I think of.
They are also one of the only states that's not refusing to mask up, right? So maybe the masks are keeping you from being insane.
Maybe. That's why I wear mine.
No, I had to bring this up.
I'm at a 5-ply now
for you.
I'm at a 5-ply now with a little bit of tape around the edge.
A 5-ply?
Oh yeah, 5-ply.
They're literally saying to wear 3 of them.
Fucking idiots.
Because now we've passed 500,000 deaths, they say. Look at this COVID tracker. This is a bad place to be. What is this? Where's that? What state is
killing
that?
People? My man Joe's killing people with the Rona.
I know. Cases are actually down 17%, but they're not really talking about that. And then they admitted on mainstream media the other day, I don't know if you saw it, that there was a lady from the CDC, and she was talking about how they were actually reporting cases, just cases, as deaths for a long time. How long did that go on? I mean, how off are these numbers? I don't believe these numbers.
And are they the only ones that did that too, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, they had a celebration, and you see that. I played on the news last night with Joe and Kamala and you know, their wife and husband out front of the White House with all black imagery and death symbolism.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I gotta watch that show. Picture. I was tired after work last night. I went right
tired, man. You got to take naps or something. You got to prioritize.
I do.
But you can't be late. So, you know, you catch it and watch it back.
That's what I'm doing.
But yeah, look at this scary old map they put up. Fear, fear, fear. 28 million total cases. But the flu is down 97%, so that's good news.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And car accidents.
Yeah, everything. Everything's down. Rona defeated everything. If we could just defeat the Rona, we would
drowning.
Be
oh yeah, drowning. Doesn't even happen anymore. You can fucking breathe underwater now, Shawn, thanks to the Rona. Stats don't lie, you know?
Hey, why do you think that they're trying to throw these security officers and officials under the bus for the fact that they underfunded their protection during this Capitol situation? I refuse to call it a riot anymore. That's what the mainstream media wants to call it, but it was an orchestrated event. And they under-defended the Capitol and let this happen. And now they're trying to hold these officials responsible.
Right after they denied any extra help.
Yeah, they denied it. They requested it. They asked for it. They knew what was coming. Well, at least the size of this event, just the size of it, would have required extra assistance, and they requested it. They didn't get it. So that they're being forced to answer for this is complete bullshit.
Yep.
You know, they're just sacrificial lambs to what really happened. This was orchestrated. During the Black Lives Matter protests, the Capitol looked like a war zone. They had troops everywhere. Now, during this demonstration, it was a completely different picture. But they're acting like they don't understand now. They left themselves undefended and then created this situation.
Well, yeah, they offered, though. You had the Guard offered, surrounding counties offered, and DC just kept turning it down.
Yeah.
You're talking the Guard already offered 10,000.
But instead of holding those people responsible, they want to go to these people that were left in a situation that they could not have possibly handled and be like, why didn't you handle it better?
Well, Texas is the same shit going on.
I asked for help and you didn't give it to me.
Dude, the same shit happened with Texas. They asked the environmental board in DC if they could get an extension on their power supply because they seen this coming. And like 2 weeks before the fucking frost over, and they turned them down.
This is all in your head. All of it. Every bit of it. Once you learn that simple truth, you can begin to take control of your life. Because life is not what happens to you. It's your reaction to what happens to you. And your perceptions of situations and the obstacles of life in the end determine your reactions to them. And all of this, every bit of it, begins in your very own mind. You are constantly making choices that affect your life, whether you realize it or not. Thousands of tiny choices. And if you become aware of the fact that you are actually creating your own existence with those little decisions, then you can steer your life where you want it to go. Because life will happen to you. But you can choose how you respond to it when it does. Because all of this, every bit of it, is in your head. And you are under constant attack. Literally, we all are. We are in a war. a spiritual war. A negative defeatist agenda is at play against you at all times. But as Sun Tzu said, victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win. You start winning this war we are in by winning it in your own mind first. You see yourself doing good and you do good. It's simple. Believe in the possibilities instead of empowering the possible dangers that may or may not even exist. They could not even be real. You're worrying about shit that may never even happen. But this belief, that's your foundation, your base. Belief and vision. And you build everything from there. This is step one. Don't even try to do anything until you take ownership of your own thoughts. Because you have got to stop defeating yourself in your own head before you even ever begin anything. That's why you stay stuck. That is what keeps you mentally running around in circles. You are doing that to yourself. You are creating those situations. You are chasing those rabbits down those holes. Be honest with yourself. It's true. You are giving power to worries and concerns that may never even come to be. You are making these imaginary dangers real and giving them power over you. Power to stop you dead in your tracks and keep you stuck in a life that makes you unhappy because you're scared of what might happen. So stop focusing on what could go wrong and instead put your mind on all of the things that can go right. What can happen if you believe in yourself and move forward and put in the work and take the steps towards doing what you want to do. See yourself winning. See yourself accomplishing what you want in this life. But to begin to do that, you first have got to give yourself permission to be happy. Don't be the one who is holding you back from what you want. 9 times out of 10, if you're really honest with yourself, which I know is very hard to do at times, but if you're honest with yourself, you will find that it is usually you that is stopping yourself from living the life that you want. And it's you that is keeping you from becoming the person that you have always wanted to be. You have defeated yourself in your own mind before the battle even began. You have convinced yourself that you cannot have better and trained yourself to settle for less, all without ever even thinking about it, just automatically. And this is what you must never do. Life is a bitch. And people will line up to convince you that you can't improve or better yourself. And you can't do shit about that. But you can completely take ownership of your own mind and control your thoughts. You can learn to think differently. It's all in your head after all. So tear down these illusionary walls that you have built in your mind that are restraining you from the life that you want. And instead build pathways towards what you want out of this life. Give yourself permission to dream and to chase after those dreams. And see yourself winning at this game of life. And you will soon find that what you focus on starts to materialize because all of this, every bit of it, is in your head. And that's the thing they don't want you to realize. Those that seek to keep you down. That you are actually in control. No one else. You. You are creating your own world. And it all begins in your own mind. Control it, or it will control you. Now, this is a simple concept in theory, but I realize from experience that it is very hard to do. It takes discipline and work and is a constant struggle, but it will get easier with time and practice. And if you do this, your whole life will change. I promise you. It really is all in your head. Own it, control it, and you can create the existence that you want and live the life that you desire because you are infinitely powerful. Nothing is impossible for you if you believe. So control your thoughts. Be aware of your mindset. Observe instead of constantly reacting. Be creative in the face of obstacles instead of defeated and overwhelmed by them, because it's all tiny choices and it's all in your head. Thanks for watching this video. And if it spoke to you, please hit like and share to spread this message of truth and help someone else realize this is all in our heads. We are in control. And most importantly, we can live the life that we wish if we just believe. Right, y'all. That was tonight's video. It's all in your head. And it is. All of it. All of it. Things are going to happen. Things are going to get bad. People are going to try to get in your way. All kinds of things are going to happen. But the way you react to it, that is what you're in control of. That is all in your head, your perception. Thank you. You know what's funny is I'm working on it, right? I'm actually trying to strengthen it and make it better and get my voice better. I was doing scales before the show. I've been doing vocal warm-ups, before I record, and I'm trying to do it now before the show even. Babel's heard me and was making fun of me. She's like, were you doing fucking scales? I was like, yes, I was. I'm trying to live my dreams. Babels. I want to do this and get paid in the shade, get diamond hands. And I can't get diamond hands on Facebook no more because Facebook has decided that we cannot monetize. Not that we ever were, but we can't. So there's that. Thank you. I appreciate it. I wanted to do more with the visuals. I'm getting real good with the audio. I'm really learning a lot with my audio program. I want to learn more with the visuals, but I liked it. It was cool. I liked the little computerized brain. Thank you for supporting it. I appreciate it. This is what I love to do, hang out with you guys. But those videos are hard. The motivational speeches, the rants are really tough to write and put together sometimes, because sometimes I'm not in that mentality. So this helps me this night. Hopefully you guys get value from it as well. But yeah, it really does help me. I was thinking today, actually, I was out smoking. I'm back out in the shed now. Like I told you, we barely freed Shawn's weed. We freed Shawn's weed because it was very, very, very cold. Babels let me smoke upstairs because it was super cold. Well, now it's not as cold. So now I'm back outside. So I was out there and I was thinking about it. And I was thinking about all of our different themes, news on Monday, Tuesday's motivation, Wednesday's conspiracy theories, Thursday's rants, Friday's guests. Like this, the complete package. It's all little pieces of me, and all of my interests all blended into a week. And, the best way to see that is by coming on a Saturday night and watching the week in review with us. And we're going to continue to do that as long as I'm able to. I'm having a little more difficulty getting a hold of my videos, and which is weird. It used to be easy. I used to be able to get them from multiple sources, but now they're all shutting it down. And right? And that's what I intend to do. I will fake it till I make it. I'm doing what I want to do. I've already made it. One of my mentors in writing, anyway, is Stephen King, and in his advice about what makes you a pro. And I've went with this advice ever since I first heard it. I even feel this way about my stand-up. If you've been paid and then, turn around and use that money to pay a bill, you're a professional. And if you're doing what you love, you've already made it. So this makes me happy doing this. But yeah, it is tough. It is tough sometimes. It's a lot of work. But I am faking it till I make it, for sure. Molly says we'll have to get you one of those fancy throat scarves like the hoity-toity voicey people wear. It'll go with your hat. You think it'll fit? I think it'll be nice, right? And it'll keep my throat warm, keep me sounding buttery. So I was telling Babels, she's like, you doing scales? I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to be buttery, Babels. Trying to do good. Yeah, that's weird. It did that to Ginger too. What's going on with that? I don't know. And I hope they're not doing the same thing that was going on with Michael and Joy. Yeah. Tammy says she sees it. I see them sometimes, and sometimes they go away. Like just now, it was there for me. But like Ginger's just gone. It's weird. Jessica says that she's going to create self-sufficiency on her own land. I'm the only thing in the way of that dream coming true. That sounds really good too, and a very good idea. Being as self-sufficient as you possibly can is the best thing to do. You want to be dependent on this system. That's the worst place to be. It's like Paul was saying today, there was a lot of people in Texas that would have really benefited from seeing our show a couple weeks ago about preparing, just about getting food ready for a couple weeks, and the little Terrapot heater that he was talking about, and different tips like that. We're going to do more of that kind of stuff coming up in the future. I'm going to learn more prepper tips and things like that to share and get it again. And I'm having trouble speaking today. I'm going to try to get some guests, some preppers to come on and give us tips and things like that. I've noticed that, I've done many different things since I started streaming and doing regular little shows. Matter of fact, the first regular little show I was doing was the Daily Burn. That's what led to this show. So that was political. It was completely different. And it was all about Bernie Sanders and the political movement and progressive politics, all of that. That's all it was. And then we started this, brought back a lot of old things that we used to do, like the Rant Show. These all used to be individual shows, like Yankee Rants, Conspiracy Theories and Chill, and Hindsight News. These were all individual little shows I would do. And just brought them all into one and made this show. But I've noticed that, now that I take it serious, and I've started to be more professional about it and move forward in a serious way with it, and put myself out there to be on other people's shows and, get in that circle. It's weird that even though we do 5 different themes, we do a lot of different things on this show, talk about a lot of different things. I'm always labeled the conspiracy theory guy. And I know that that's just the easy way to label anyone who thinks for themselves. Matter of fact, they're putting out mainstream propaganda pieces now about how you shouldn't think for yourself, that critical thinking is dangerous, especially the way that we understand it. We don't really understand how to think. It's dangerous. Probably shouldn't be doing it. And how dare you for even thinking that you can try to think? There's people that are paid to think, good amounts of money. You need to let them do it for you. That's what they want. And then they label you. And I try not to worry about it. I try not to let it weigh on me. But I don't ever really bullshit with y'all, so I might as well lay it out there. It's been weighing on me heavy because even though that's a weaponized term, it's effective, isn't it? You know, it get people to instantly dismiss you with no evidence. For instance, I've been being mocked in these certain circles for a good couple weeks now with zero evidence. They don't need any. It's enough that you can label me a conspiracy theorist. You know, and it's not that I don't like fun conspiracies or I don't entertain conspiracies that I maybe even don't fully believe in. It's just that doesn't make anything else or even some of the conspiracy theories irrelevant. You can't disprove them. You didn't disprove any of it. But you feel okay to mock because that's encouragement for each other, for them. They like that. Reinforces. Yay, you don't think either. High five. This fucker, he thinks he knows how to think. Look at him. Look at him thinking thoughts. Ridiculous. But yeah, that's what they label you. You know, it's unfortunate because in that way, no one wants to listen. They're like, oh, I can't. You're like that Alex Jones guy. No, Alex Jones is a plant, a disinformation agent. He's there to make anyone else look ridiculous. You know, they equate ripping off your shirt on air and screaming and spitting all over the camera with conspiracy theories. That's what he's for. A convenient tool. Lori says if Melody goes to jail, she blames this community. Which community? Specifically. Ron says, has anybody heard the new conspiracy? That Bill hates is evil. Not him. No, please, Jesus, say it ain't true. Oh, it's true, brother. Bill Gates is a literal supervillain. I mean, look at what he's doing. Buying up all this farmland and resources and power in the medical industry and vaccination and all of those things and health in general and influence. It's ridiculous amounts of power. He's exactly like a supervillain. And yeah, look, the one in particular that really, really has it in for me. And, you know, I'm kind of anxious to see the video that they plan to make. Apparently there's a video coming out about me. I'm sure it'll be very flattering. But anyways, he considers himself an anti-truther. And look, I'm telling you, they think this is a good thing. I'm going to attempt to explain it. I don't know how. I'm going to try. But yes, if you think for yourself, if you entertain anything that could be labeled a conspiracy theory that's not officially mainstream approved, stamp of approval, then you're a truther and he's out to destroy you because you're dangerous. I knew I was going to do a shitty job. It makes no sense. But he's anti-truther, which, as Joan has explained over and over again, means that you're a liar. But what he thinks is that truthers are actually spreading falsehoods, I guess. I don't know. Oh, okay. Here, I caught up now. Lori says the truth community. Now I'm confused. In what way? I feel like it would sidetrack, but yeah, I need more information. Bill Gates, it's crazy, look, right? Because he has no qualifications to really be speaking about anything that he's talking about. Yet, he continues to be the global expert on almost every topic. It's pretty weird, you know. I agree, CJ. I agree. Well, look, listen. I'm trying to figure out how to segue into this, because ever since I've made this little toy, I have not figured out how to properly use it. So since I've already dumpster fired it, I want you to tell me if you think we should even keep it. What I'm about to play for you is the intro for tonight, the little mood setter to get us ready to talk about conspiracy theories and kick that around. And I'm wondering if it's something we should make a regular thing. I think that it's kind of fancy and it makes it seem more of a show and gets the mood set. Plus, we used to use the song Mr. Crowley a long time ago when we first started this show. And we couldn't do it anymore because of copyright strikes. But I figured out if you use a cover version, you can get away with it. So for multiple reasons, I made this. I'm going to play it real quick, and you let me know if you think it's something we should incorporate permanently. I may even make one of these for every night's theme, to get it ready and make it classier and neat. But here we go. Right? I think it's cool as shit. But look, every time I've tried to segue into it, and I don't know why I always have to point that shit out, but I fumble it every time. Every time I realize I want to do it and I'm ready to do it, and I don't know how to get into it. Diane would love to know more about Melody's situation. I can attempt to discuss it, but I know very little. And honestly, I don't think anybody would like my views on the entire thing. So I've kind of been like Bennett, and I ain't in it. You know what I mean? And I hear from a very reliable source, and I like information from this source, that there is a page and a post, and I think there's even a GoFundMe that people can participate in. So, but, there's 2, 3, 4 sides to every story, and I don't know what's going on fully, But we could always have Melody on. Melody has been on before and is a friend, so maybe she'd want to come on and talk about it. Like I said, I would need more information before I would even be able to comment. Anyways, hold on and get us back on track. So Friday night, as you know, we have guests on Fridays. This Friday night, it's Philip Polk Palmer. And he's a returning guest to the show. He's been on the Shawn Yankee show a couple of times. But it was actually the first time we ever met Philip was on Conspiracy Theories and Chill. That's where we first met him. Philip is a Bigfoot hunter. He goes out and seeks them, tracks them, studies them, has for a long time, and gone on many expeditions to seek them out, and has also had an experience with one. So he's a fascinating guest. I can't wait to have him back. But it got me thinking, to set the mood, get us ready for Friday, that we should talk about some more of the paranormal type conspiracy theories and kick those around. CJ says he has a friend who lives near him who claims Bigfoot and his family live in the woods that I hike in. He has a YouTube channel called Man of Light. Specifically about this topic. Look, like I said, Philip's going to talk about some really cool things. That's actually a great episode of Conspiracy Theories and Chill. It's still up on the YouTube channel. But he talks about multiple encounters, different things. But one physical encounter where he stood, face to face with one. And he describes that. But there was also another time where he made mess with him. A particular story where him and his wife were in a cabin when they were out on a hunt of these Bigfoot. It's interesting stuff. Mark seems to know a lot about its feet. Mark says 4 toes and a dew claw. What's a dew claw? Is that like a veterinary, technical term for that little claw in the back part of a dog's paw? And then Gwendolyn brings up a good point. Where are the dead big feet? Where are they? That's an excellent point. Unless they bury their dead and remove the remains to cover their existence. Or, again, if you factor in interdimensional beings. I don't know. It's neat. Tonight I just thought paranormal stuff, just to get us into our visit with Philip. But another fascinating one is about the skinwalkers and these shape-shifting beings that are seen in a specific area. There's other stories of different beings. I think these all are part of the same family and intertwined. They're interdimensional, though. That's what I think about them. Mark says that they may eat their own dead. That's culture? Whose? I don't know about that. That's weird. Bobby's right. I wonder. I almost said a big feet would make good eating. I don't know, though. I don't know that it would. Richard Pryor is a hero. Hashtag hero. Jones says too, maybe they eat their dead. Maybe they do. I never heard of that, but possible. But no, seriously, I was looking up stuff just because we're going to have Philip on. And I was reading a declassified FBI document, and it goes into descriptions and talks about different things like their crafts that they travel in, that they carry crews and are driven by remote, and their mission is peaceful. It says the visitors contemplate settling on this plane, and these visitors are human-like but much larger in size. It goes on to say they're not exactly as like Earth people, it says, but come from their own world. So they're not from here in any way, not from the future or anything like that, from a different world. They don't come from a planet as we would use that word, they say, but from an etheric planet, which interpenetrates with our own. So it's weird, though. There's many of these. So it says that the bodies of the visitors and the craft automatically materialize on entering the vibratory rate of our dense matter. This is from an FBI declassified document. It's just weird. You know, and you find a lot of examples like this. So it's hard to dismiss. That's what I'm saying. When you start looking, even a topic that, like I said, when it first started coming up, I was like, I don't know how to cover Bigfoot, you know? When you start reaching out and you open yourself up to the possibilities and allow yourself to look at it, you start finding out, well, okay, there is more here. And especially you find out that these people are, I realize there's crazy ones in every group, but for the most part, good people that actually do have some evidence. If you would listen to it, it's kind of compelling and fascinating. So well, they're already saying they're going to disclose certain things. They actually gave themselves 180 days in that last COVID package they gave out, the little handout they gave us, to disclose all information that the government has about UFOs and aliens to the people. So yeah, I think they are going to be telling us some stuff. It won't be the truth, but yeah, they'll be telling us some stuff because they're just not denying it anymore. You know, like they had that footage the military released even of them chasing and pursuing UFOs. And then you're seeing a lot of more news stories about it, pilots speaking out. Yeah. So I think so. I think that's what they're getting us ready for. They always predict the programming, you know, and get the narrative, prep the narrative. So that's what it looks like to me. Is some disclosure coming. Mark said when you lived in the same place for 10 years and you see someone taller than the stop sign, you know that ain't ignoring me. So in that last part I got confused, but how tall is the stop sign? I'm trying to imagine now. I've never paid attention, but they're pretty tall. Yeah, I imagine somebody as tall as the stop sign would be peculiar. Hey everybody, this is the week in review. So we're getting ready to go into Thursday, and I was just checking in with y'all. We still got to watch rants. Got some clips from rant night that I picked out for you guys, and then Philip Polk Palmer. I picked out a section of our interview. If you want to check out the full interview, you can get that on our YouTube page or on the Facebook page for the show. But let's see. Hey, Philip's here. Sweet. Hey, man, there's coming up in the Week in Review a clip from our discussion. Philip was just our guest on the show. It was weird watching that. It's been weird watching this whole week back with you guys. I'm always too honest with you. So we'll just go ahead and get it out. I've been dealing with some stuff. And, you know, a lot of times, especially this past week, when it's time to hit that live button, I'm like, man, I got no business doing this. And you could see that. I could see it in that last episode, the last day, Wednesday. Man, it was weighing on me heavy that day. You could tell. You could really tell. And it was because of shitty people, you know. And I noticed there's a shitty person here. I hope they're still here. You know, because it's kind of like being at a comedy club when they would heckle. And it's like, what the hell are you doing, man? I got the microphone. You know, I can stop this car. I can turn it around at any time. But, you know, anyways, I'll go ahead and address what it was. He was shitting on me about having a job in fast food. I'm not ashamed of it. You know, the only reason why I would address it is because I know some people are. These are good people that are hardworking people. And they actually do make better money than you think. But anyways, that's beside the point. It's a job. It suits my purposes. And it's what I need in this life is something to support me while I pursue other ventures. You know, that's what I want to do. So I'm living my ultimate life. You're not going to shame me with that shit. You know, and you know, I mentioned at one point that you need a joke writer. If you're going to troll, like at least step your game up. But why would you try to make someone ashamed of their job? You know, I don't, like I said, again, I'm only addressing it because some people that does get in their head. And having been dealing with that, no, I know it is. And that's the only reason why I'm addressing it is because it is bullshit. So I do what I need to do to support myself. This is what I love to do. And I've already made it at this. I'm successful at this. Yeah, well, it should. It should. And I'm sorry. I didn't mean to kill the mood. We're hanging out. We got more show to watch. We're going to watch more highlights of the week. But it's just that watching back the Wednesday night, because I was already ready to rip into this guy. It was Bert from the comments early up. If you want to scroll up, you can find it. But he was here and having a little fun. And anyways, I was mad. I was like, okay, I'm breaking in after this. I'm going to talk about this and address it. Because I hate when people do that. Because a job is a job. Dude, it suits its purpose. And again, like I said, I do better than you'd think. But whatever. I was sitting there watching Wednesday and I'm like, man, having just gotten past that, I'm not even all the way out of it. You know, there's stuff that's been in my head and seeing it play out by watching Wednesday, because Wednesday was I struggled to get through that night. And I could tell. So it calmed me down a bit, you know, and it made me have a little perspective and realize that, you know, these people, they're projecting something in themselves. There's something wrong with them, something off with them, something negative inside of them that they are lashing out at you, you know, no matter what it is or who they are. And sometimes you think they're your friends. Sometimes they're complete strangers. Like Bert happens to be a stranger. I don't recognize him. But these people that got in my head this past week, these are people in my life, you know. And it was all in different circumstances, and it just happened to happen at the same time, and led to a perfect storm that really shook me up for a little bit, for a few days. And like I said, I'm just now coming out of it. But I thought these people were friends of mine in every instance. So that messes with your head. It just does. And like I said, watching me suffer through and try to get through that show, it calmed me down a bit. But I still wanted to say something, because I'm like, I'm not ashamed of that, and nobody should be, not at all. But let's see. I wanted to hang out with you guys a bit before we play Thursday night. This is the week in review. We do this on Saturday nights, for as long as we're able. I realized I can get the videos in a different way now, because there's been some shenanigans, and they won't let me pull my content in the regular ways I used to get it. But I can get it straight from the streaming source. It takes a little longer, but I can still do it. But as long as we can do it, we'll keep doing it. But I think it's a good advertisement for the show, a good way for you to see what we're about and what we do, and what the experience is like when we gather here. I think the little segments and especially watching all the themes play out in a row is a good way to see that. But Lolly says she's on disability when the government's hit, but at least I'm not. Well, I can't read the rest of it, but Ginger said she cleans ORs. Work is work. Jones says she does laundry, is proud of it, and never be ashamed of doing any kind of job. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not. And like I said, I brought it up just in case anybody is. So I know people that are, and I know people that are shamed by it. And just from working in the industry, I know people that I know that people do treat you like shit. Like you're less than a person because you work there, and it's just ridiculous. Aaron's a painter and general maintenance painting for a hospital. You guys are awesome, by the way. We have the best peeps on the internet. And what did Ron say? A peep is a hatched marshmallow? That blew my mind. Never even thought of that. But let's get back to the week in review, and I will be back to hang out with you guys again as we watch this. We're getting ready to watch Thursday night. It's rant night, and then after that, a clip from our discussion with Philip Polk Palmer. So this is the week in review from the Shawn Yankee Show. Yeah, it's only Thursday, and look, my work week only starts on Wednesday, and I'm wore out already. I've only worked 2 of my 5 days yet. It takes so much out of you, just mentally. Mine for other reasons recently. As you know, not that long ago, we had some serious weather where I live, and the roads were really bad, and I called in. I had the audacity to call in, and I don't know, man. Everything got all fucked up at work. It's been uncomfortable. Samuel's in Facebook. Look. It's ridiculous, right? Well, look, I'm going to start the rant. I'm going to get through with what I had picked out to rant about. Even though I'm a little skittish to get started. Because, again, I'm going to kind of directly attack something that is a view of mine that's been changing. I've started to realize I've been too lenient. Mr. Potato Head. Let's just start with Mr. Potato Head. Well, he's no longer Mr. Potato Head, and I really shouldn't be calling him a he. Well, I don't even know what his name is now. I gotta look. Just losing the Mister, I guess. So, just gonna be known as Potato Head now. Just gonna be named Potato Head. For 70 years, it's been Mr. Potato Head. There's a Mrs. Potato Head. And it's fucking Potato Head. You know what? Look, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm getting at. This is where I lose friends, and it's sad. Because I've just been too lenient in my policy. I usually feel like if you're not hurting somebody, I want you to be happy. Like, fine. I don't have to agree with what you're doing. But it's insane. It's just gotten out of control. It's way out of control. And you're like, okay, Shawn, you're being stupid. Who gives a fuck if it's called Mr. Potato Head or not, or Mrs. Potato Head, and they just call it Potato Head? It's not that big of a deal. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Little shit like this. Baby steps. What are we doing? What are we doing here? You know, this isn't you wanting to do something and that being okay. It's you wanting everyone to do it and go along with it with you. Everyone has to believe in it even. This is just going nuts. In every category that you're giving this extreme organization, the far left, whatever we're calling the radical left, that never gets talked about. Far right and radical right and all that got talked about and hyped up forever. Still being hyped up is dangerous. But these people are more dangerous. This is craziness. Potato Head. Or where does this lead? Why is it dangerous? I mean, why would I care? Well, as we all know, the executive branch of the government is now back in the hands of the Luciferian agenda. And one of their picks is for Assistant Health Secretary. It happens to be transgender, which, again, look, I don't care. Personally, I don't. I'm just starting to feel like I'm being too lenient in my policy towards all of this. And it's just, I don't even know how to handle this discussion because this is a philosophical change that's happening in my beliefs. She won't answer questions on whether or not she would allow child sex changes. I didn't even know that was something that was on the table. What the? Man, I don't know about any of this anymore. I know we're going too crazy with it, trying to normalize everything and denormalize gender. Wasn't there a story? I'm pretty sure we covered it not that long ago about there being certain terms you can't even say in Congress anymore that are gender identifying. Potato Head. What about Mrs.? Are they just going to stop selling Mrs.? It's just all going to be Potato Heads? No more Mr., no more Mrs., just Potato Head. Will it come with a hat? Like, can you make it a Mr.? Can you put a mustache and a hat on it? Because that's particularly all that makes it a Mr. There's no wiener for the Potato Head. It's not like it has any kind of gender identifying qualities to begin with. So they're being as equally silly, is all I'm saying. The last part was probably unnecessary, but still. And all that makes Mrs. Potato Head is a Mrs. is that her hat has a flower in it, and she doesn't come with a mustache. Maybe she's got a purse. I didn't have Mrs. I had Mr. Look, there was somebody arguing with me at work about it, about how many genders there are now. And it's over 100. I don't know the exact number. But I do know that when you go to order the t-shirt, like if you support 175 genders or however many there are, if you want to say that on a t-shirt and you go to order it, you're going to have to select whether you want to order it for a male or a female. Those are the two body types. I don't know. I don't know that we can start accepting everybody for what they identify as. It's just getting too crazy. You know what happens when you let things get out of hand? Look around with the madness going on with this virus with no real evidence for it. Now, this one I kind of do have to show you. I want to look at this with you real quick. So, sorry. I didn't plan to do this, but this is not something I'm making up. That's why I wanted to do this. This is CDC. This is their COVID tracker. It's not mine. No paranoid, delusional, conspiracy theory site. This is the CDC COVID data tracker. Look at that shit. Look, now you couple that, because I don't believe any of this. You see what I'm saying? I don't believe any of this. So you couple that with that and this. So that's where it was the whole time. Like, just draw a line across there. And then with the fact that the flu cases are down, what, 97%? Yet, they're talking about lockdowns lasting another year. This is crazy. This is all out of hand. Like, and we could talk about other things. When you give them an inch, they take a mile. Like with censorship, that's going crazy right now too. It's way too much power in a small group of people. But this madness with this sickness, I don't even know what to call it anymore that's acceptable. Because everything you call it gets you censored or throttled if you're not speaking about it in a positive way. But look what it's got going on. This is where you really, really can see clearly that this is all about mind control. These kids, this is real. This is not the Babylon Bee. This is not the Onion. This is real. This is a real picture from a school. You should see the kid playing the tuba. He barely fits in his. What the fuck? This is crazy. This is so far out of hand. This is not a threat to kids. Look what they're doing to them. You know, at the schools, the elementary schools locally, I don't know about where you are, but they give them little tags, little tickets. They can earn mask breaks, time without their mask on for good behavior. This is all about conditioning, social conditioning, what they're doing. And they're trying to do it to the kids. It's so clear when you look at it. when you're looking at pictures of them doing it to kids. It can't be any clearer. That is just nuts. This is why, though. This is why my views are changing about this. I understand, and we talk about it all the time, that there's a Luciferian agenda. It's against us all. Well, one of their main principles is do what thou wilt. Now, what is my philosophy usually? If it's not hurting somebody, then it's okay. Look at what John Lennon says here. The whole Beatles idea was to do what you want. Do what thou wilt. They always say that. Look at Jay-Z's shirt, and Aleister Crowley, Anton LaVey. They all say this phrase. As long as it doesn't hurt somebody, John Lennon. It made me realize, I was like, man, first off, it is hurting people. You know, there's different levels of hurt, different ways to hurt people. And second, it's not a philosophy I can support anymore. I have to rethink it. But look, it's a fact. If we're talking about boiling it all the way down to its root, that is the fact of it. It's one or the other. You know what I mean? Stealing scholarships. Look, you just can't physically compete if you are physically different. It's not fair. It's not right. And Biden, that's one of the first things he did. You know, he just overturned I hate that I can't remember the name of this. Talon, I think. Somebody help me. I know there's people here that know what I'm talking about. But it had to do with these crimes against children, horrific things that the Trump administration put into place. Well, the Biden administration got rid of it. Of course they did. But one of the first things they did was made sure that if I want, I can get a sex change and go punch women in the face. And then people are supposed to cheer me on and be mad at the women who are just physically outbalanced. Philip is a returning guest of the show, one of the earliest guests I ever had on, in fact. And back when this was just Conspiracy Theories and Chill, Philip was on when we first met him. But he is a fantastic guest, very interesting, great storyteller, and I'm excited. If you guys are ready, I'm going to bring him in. So without any further ado, Philip Polk Palmer. Hey, Philip.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you, brother?
I'm doing great. It's always good to be back here with you. I don't think there's any problem with me naming this guy because his name is out there with this thing.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to forget his first name, but his last name is Barnes. When his first name comes to me, I will bring that back up. But so he is part of a duo. Actually, it's even more than a duo because the guy that I told you is kind of the leader of this group brings his wife and sister along sometimes. But usually the hardcore group is him and this other guy. I believe they're down in like the Green Swamp area of Florida, which is a pretty vast. Florida, man, it has been cut up. I'm telling you, it's one state below me. It's a lot longer than Georgia, and it kind of looks like it's more square miles in Georgia, but it's not. There are twice as many people in Florida as there are in Georgia. There's like 10+ million people in Georgia. There's like 20 million people in Florida or more. And I want to bring up a point about that later, why that plays into the whole Sasquatch subject. But There still are a few areas where there's some vast forests, but for the most part, other than the Everglades and then a few of these wildlife protected areas, it's just neighborhoods everywhere, Neighborhoods or farms or whatever, but it's all cut up. So anyway, these guys have been doing this about 6 years. I didn't watch their show regularly, but I would pull it up, and they've definitely come across some very interesting, for lack of a better word, evidence, in terms of vocalizations, in terms of the stick and tree structure anomalies. So sometime much earlier this year, I was just perusing podcasts, seeing what might appeal to me in the realm of that subject. And I came up on one called Bigfoot Odyssey. And I just said, let's see what this is about. I had no clue. Well, immediately when they brought the guy on, I said, I know that guy. He's with those two people that go to the research down in Florida. So the guy did a pretty lengthy intro before bringing him on. But when he brought him on, they took a while for him to get to his story. And even talking about the story, he was having trouble. And they kept reassuring him, it's okay, take your time. We're here for you. Everybody's in support of you. Just take your time. Don't worry about breaking down. So here's what happened. He wouldn't reveal where it was, but I'm pretty certain this was a place either in a forest in Georgia or Florida. He wanted to get away, is the way I interpret it. He had a friend drop him off in a cabin in the middle of nowhere, just in the middle of the deep forest, which he had rented. And so, he gets settled in, and every night, it's the same routine. He goes outside. He's got a fire pit. He builds up a massive fire. I don't know if he's cooking his dinner outside or not, but he's hanging out by the fire. And the wood line is not too, it's a small yard, and then you just go into the wood line. The forest's not far out. And right behind the fire is the wood line. And he kept hearing the first couple of nights these sounds that he said sounded like hogs in the woods, right away from the open area. So the next morning he'd go in there, and I don't know what you know about hogs, but I can tell you from my research areas here, they tear it up. They tear the ground up. They root and root and root, and they tear it up. And it's very clear when you have hogs because the ground is just disturbed everywhere. So he'd go back in there and he wouldn't see any disturbance. There was nothing. He's like, wait a minute, if there were hogs, why is there nothing torn up? And it's happened for a couple of nights. So he was getting towards, I think he was going to leave out on a Friday, so it might have been like a Tuesday or a Wednesday. He had tons of firewood, and he wanted, in his words, he just, for some reason, wanted to make sure and burn up all the firewood before he left. So he made a massive bonfire, got this thing just roaring. And he's just sitting there in the chair, kind of a recliner outdoor chair, looking at the fire. And then he sees through the fire on the other side in the wood line 2 red eyes. He's like, what's that? So he stood up, around each side of the fire, and when he looked around, he wouldn't see the eyes anymore. So he would sit back down, and he would see the eyes again. Eventually stood up, he took a flashlight, shined it into the woods, couldn't see anything. And he just thought, who knows? Maybe it's some optical illusion with the fire. He sits back down, he sees the eyes again, and the next thing he says is these 2 hands from behind him grabbed him by the shoulders and pushed him down into his seat and held him down. And he could perceive that whatever this thing was that was pushing him down was not the only thing there. There were others off to his right that were there observing what was going on. And what this thing started doing was communicating. People in the Bigfoot world, for some reason, have taken to referring to telepathy as mind speak. It's telepathy, right? But they like using that word. Another term that they use that cracks me up is ground sticks. That's when you find a stick firmly stuck in the ground. Well, it's like, of course it's a ground stick. It's just a stick stuck in the ground. It's just one of the most silly, obvious things I've ever heard, So mind speak, I guess, is the same as somebody speaking to you telepathically. So this thing is speaking to him in English telepathically. And it is telling him what it is and what he is. It tells him on no uncertain terms that it is a predator and that he is the prey. And he starts telling them that, like, in humanity, because he or it, I don't know if it was a he, I shouldn't say that. But this being was saying that they live on the other side of the veil, but they're capable of moving through the veil into this area where we are. And he stated that in life, there are people that they view as prey. There are people that they view as pawns, which they use to catch prey, to basically to lure prey in. And then there are people they just don't care about. They don't give a damn about. They're indifferent. And they will communicate with each other and decide at some point, is this particular being worthy of being prey? And he actually communicated to him the day that they determined he was prey. And it was, he was in the swamp with his friend filming. It was a particular one of their videos that they'd done. And I didn't see this one, but he described what was going on. They were getting some tree knocks kind of from one area and from another area. And all of a sudden, these tree knocks are moving closer and closer. They're feeling surrounded, and they're kind of like, we might be in some bad company right now. We don't know what's going on. But he said that was the day they decided he and his partner were prey. And an interesting thing that this thing communicated about the tree knocks was he said, y'all think these are tree knocks. Y'all think these are the Bigfoot knocking on trees with sticks. He said, that's not what you're hearing. That's our conversation. But the conversation is much longer, and you're only getting a moment of it, a snippet of it, and it sounds like a knock. I mean, this is some really crazy stuff, like really weird. And I thought, wow, if he is making this up, he went into some detail to make some of these details up.
So what he says, let me see if I'm following so far, is that while he was out, like doing research, a group of these he encountered a group, and they held him down and transmitted this information to him and explained this. Why would they do that?
Well, we're going to get to why they would do that. Okay. That's where it gets really dark and really frightening.
So I am understanding so far. They basically
right there with
laid it down for him.
This being is informing him that he is doomed, and this is the moment. You know? And so there's another Bigfoot researcher that died just a couple of years ago. Of course, whenever I have to draw up a name, my brain just goes.
Me too.
He's pretty well known in Bigfoot circles. He was really controversial because he's kind of a shit starter, and he started shit with these guys continually.
Yeah.
And so there was no love lost, but this being told him they killed him. It said that they know your weaknesses, they know your physical maladies if you have any, they know where those areas are, they know your emotional weaknesses, they study you, they know everything about you. And he said their sense of time is not like ours, that they may take 20 years drawing you out and messing with you before they decide to basically lower the boom. They have a totally different sense of time than we do. So it's no big deal for them to tease you along for 20 years. Their main thing, though, is to keep you going out, there. And see, what he says, because as any good researcher knows, you're going to have all these dry periods where you're not getting any evidence. And you're thinking about throwing in the towel. And that's about where they were when they suddenly found this massive footprint. This thing communicated to them. Who do you think put that footprint there? Who do you think put that footprint there for you? That was to make sure you stay out there. So it kept telling him all these details. So he told him that they were the ones that offed that guy. His name will come to me later, or not.
Right. As soon as you don't need it anymore, that's how it works with me.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm right back.
So they told him that, and they told him his partner was also on the list. They were going to get him sooner or later. And so what he was describing, so these things, let me tell you what he said the best he could describe is how they looked. They were black, smoky, wispy beings that looked like they had a hood or a cloak on. And they said that they were the masters. And Bigfoot are basically just there in their hand, in the palm of their hand. Whatever you think Bigfoot is, that's them manipulating the situation. These things live on the other side of the veil, as they describe. And the interesting thing, so they're the masters, and then they're what they call the unlearned. And those are the ones that still haven't had a kill. And they don't know much yet. And something he really said that was intriguing to me, he said, when the masters move through the veil, they can come through seamlessly and you won't know it. But he does recall saying he would see these things in the woods, like quickly moving between one tree and another. And it's like that kind of thing, that fleeting thing out the corner of your eye. The master said they can move into this dimension or this realm seamlessly, but the unlearned, when they come through, they actually put a perforation in the fabric of the realm, and it leaves, this is the weirdest thing in the world, it leaves a scent. And that scent is that skunky odor people talk about. And the funniest thing is, oftentimes when I'm walking in the woods here by my house or going down the street, I've always assumed, and it probably is, I've assumed it's fox urine or deer scent, but I would just suddenly walk into a cloud of this really skunky smell. And it did take me aback for a minute, you know. Pretty much it told him they've done things to make, they even use the guy's wife and sister to make sure they stay in there. They've done things like pull on one of the women's ponytails, and they turn around, there's nothing there. They knocked the girl's mic boom stand, knocked that, and turn around, nothing there. But it's all to get your attention to make you think, wow, something is going on. We got to keep coming out here and trying to figure it out. That's their job. So pretty much after terrorizing this guy, they may be shapeshifters, Holly. I don't know. They may, maybe it's them and Bigfoot are kind of one and the same, but they kind of made it sound like, I don't want to say Bigfoot's doing their bidding, but somehow they're manipulating the scenario where Bigfoot or Sasquatch or whatever we call it is involved.
So these beings are separate entities.
He had a really negative outlook, obviously based on what he's saying his experience was. He said all these people that look at him as these beings of love and light trying to take us to a higher realm, he said they're just teasing them out. They're lying to them. They're keeping them strung along. And that's a hard thing to hear because I don't want to think about this that way. I try to think of them as these forest people based on my limited understanding. And that if they are a type of people, because they're certainly more than an upright gorilla, if they are a type of people, they're going to run the gamut like us, right? There's bad actors, good people, you know, there's some indifferent people. That's the way I generally see it. Some of them may be responsible for human abduction. I don't know. But this brings it up to a whole different level. And so, back to your question, he asked him, why, if you're going to kill me, are you telling me? Oh, he said this was communicated telepathically to me. Why are you then giving me all this knowledge? And they said, because the more knowledge they give the victim, the greater the kill. This being told them after they make a kill, because they don't eat their victims, they just kill them. They go back to their realm and they celebrate just like hunters would if they shot a 12-point buck, right? Pop open a bunch of beers around a campfire, you know. And he even, Mark, his name's Mark, that's it. Mark even said, look at me. I go out in the woods all pompous like, and I kill deer, and I come back and I brag to people about my kill. I'm no better than they are, you know. I'm not. And once again, I'm not shitting bad about anybody that hunts and got plenty of deer. It's a great food source, right? So keep that in mind. I try to steer away from judgment on people's individual behaviors. And yes, but he was kind of down on himself because he thought about all the times he took out these animals just for sport. And that's what these things are doing. They're doing it just for sport, and they relish the kill. And once they get ready, they plan it. And they all, it's the one that gets picked to do the kill, the master, And all the unlearned are there watching and right behind it. And that's the other thing. He said, when you hear us speak or me speak, we are speaking with one voice. We speak in unison. They're completely unified. So he basically told him, it's a much better kill when I can fill you with all this knowledge that you can't do anything about it. You're doomed, and you know it. And now we've horrified you, and now we get to take that last moment. Here's what happened. I know there's plenty of info that they imparted to him that I'm not remembering right now, but you are getting the gist of this story. But bear in mind, he lives in the city. He doesn't feel safe in the city. He says he's seen these wispy shadows in his apartment building now, because he dodged a bullet. So what happened was, like sometimes gases will build up in a fire log, like the sap will basically expand, and then you'll hear a big pop because it's bursting out of the wood. He said this was like that, except it was so much louder. It was like a shotgun blast. It was like the fire blew up, and all at once, these beings backed off, and a voice in his head said, "Run." And this is a guy in his upper 60s, okay? And he's got a bad knee, but he said, I ran like I've never run before, and I ran into that cabin, and I locked the door, and then I could hear them on the porch. And they couldn't just come in. That was the interesting thing. If you know the old vampire stories, that the vampires had to be invited in.
That was the first thing I thought of.
They were asking him, they were like, let us in, let us in. He locked the door and he wouldn't do it. And here's the worst part, though. He was so utterly just, imagine if this really happened, how shaken to your core with terror you would be. He just grabbed a bottle of whiskey, and he's not even a big drinker. And he just started pounding the booze because he was terrified. He wasn't going to leave the cabin. He's stuck in the woods. And it was like, the people that come take care of the people that clean the cabin up were going to be there for a couple of days. He had poor reception on his phone, and he just drank himself into a stupor. But eventually he was able to get a hold of his friend, and his friend came and got him. And the first thing he did, he couldn't think anymore. He said when he got out of the cabin, he had the inability to focus or think on anything. Like his best friend that he does this YouTube video series with, he couldn't even remember where he lived. And they only live a few miles apart. And he finally remembered where he lived, and he got there. And he went there to tell him what happened and that he was dropping out of the show. And he urged him to do the same because they said they've got his ticket too. Now, it sounds to me like if they've got your number, if they want you, I don't think you have to be out in the woods, even though they did seem very interested in keeping you out there. They told him the woods, the forest of the world, the wild areas of the world are theirs, that it was gifted to them. And they didn't say by who, but they said that's their domain, and they can do whatever they want in their domain. And that's when I started thinking about the missing 411 stuff, Shawn. These people, I don't know how much any of you guys know about the whole missing 411 subject, but that stuff is utterly frightening no matter what the cause is. So, who knows?
Who's the missing 411?
Okay, so there's a former police officer named David Politis. Years ago, I think he tried to help in some state or federal park missing person situation. I think he was already retired as a police officer. But when he was leaving the park, a couple of rangers, and forgive me, David, if I'm missing the story at all, pulled him aside and said, look, you need to look a lot more into this. And they didn't just mean the story. He said, there's a lot more going on in these parks than you understand. And that was it. That sent him off on his quest. He's written a series of books called Missing 411. They're divided by separate sections of different sections of the country, and even outside of this country. I bought the one on the East Coast stuff. I'll give you a prime example. So there was a kid if I have my date right, in 1967, who went with the family. And I think when I say the family, it was mostly the men, like the father and the grandfather and some uncles. And they went into the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee. This kid was about 5 years old, maybe 6. And when you get to the top of this mountain, there's an open field. I think it was called Spence Field. And they were just there, having a picnic and playing. And eventually another family came up there and they had kids. And once again, I'm drawing on names. I can never get a name. Kid's name will come up at some point. But their last name was the same as the other family's last name, which might mean nothing, but it was just an interesting little coincidence. So the kids started playing together. And this child and the father watched as this happened. They were playing hide and seek. And the kid ran behind a bush that was right at the edge of the wood line. The father intently watched the bush, waiting for his son to come out. His son didn't come out. And he ran over to the bush. He wasn't there. And this is all documented stuff now. This isn't like the previous story where it's the guy telling you. This is Green Berets got involved in this, okay? This is real stuff. Tons of people, Joan, have vanished on the Appalachian Trail. Tons. And when I say missing 411, what we're dealing with is stories where you can rule out the usual suspects. You can rule out predatory action. You can rule out somebody getting, for the most part, disoriented and lost. These are things where a lot of the normal answers get ruled out because you wouldn't believe the searches that go on in these situations. So the father immediately starts running downhill down a trail, yelling out his son's name. He goes for like 2 miles. He didn't find anything. He comes back up. And so obviously they call the authorities, and the next thing you know, they've got hundreds of people scouring the mountainside. And bizarrely, eventually the Green Berets come in, which is not something they do. Green Berets, usually, if they're called into something like that, they're called in to look for a criminal. They're not called in to retrieve a lost person or body. So the thing is, the Green Berets wouldn't communicate with anybody. They were not sharing information with the Forest Service or the other people involved. They were doing their own thing. They were looking around. So nothing. They got nothing. Okay, there was nothing. I think eventually, years and years later, they found one of his shoes. But here's the ultra creepy part. After this made the news, eventually another family came forward saying they had come to the park and they asked one of the rangers, we really want to see some bears. Where would be the best area to go to see bears? And the guy told him, your best chance of catching a bear site is going to be up this trail and then here. And it was an area probably 2 or 3 miles away from Spence Field. Well, what happened was they're going up this mountain and they hear this ungodly shriek. And then the next thing you know, they look up and they see this thing. Some of them described it like a man wearing a fur coat. The son thought it was a bear, but it had something slung over its shoulder. It looked sort of like somebody dressed in clothes. And the son said, look, Daddy, there's a bear. And the dad said, that's not a bear. And it ran off. That was that. And the thing is, that information, the authorities totally ignored. They didn't deal with that. They wouldn't deal with that information, even though this family came forward. And really, that's the end of that poor kid's story. Something took him, and it did it stealthily right in front of these people. Okay? The father was looking at the bush the whole time. And that's just one example. Another one I'll give you real quick. I think it was in the Sierra Nevada mountains in a camp. This one has a slightly better ending. In a campground somewhere in the Sierra Nevadas in California, this kid's literally 3 years old. And they just got there to the campground. Kid's 15 feet away from his father on the campground. Father turns his back to do something, turns right back around. Kid is gone. He's not meandered somewhere. Joe knows this story. He is gone. And within a really short time, after looking around and, of course, calling his name and trying to find him, they've got people all over all over the mountainside, scouring the mountainside. Couldn't find him. Well, I don't remember the amount of days, but it was 3 days later, 2 or 3 days later, they found this kid. They went way out the normal search area. This kid was, remember, he's 3 years old, 2 or 3, 12 miles away up the mountain and across frigid rivers. And he was sitting on a ledge, and he was perfectly fine. There is no way that, even if you know who the Les Stroud is, Survivor Man, one of the most badass people I know of.
Right.
Later on, he put that trip to the test. He couldn't do it. He couldn't do it in the allotted time.
Oh, he tried it.
Yes. This kid, and kids, like, they haven't developed at that point to where they obviously can't cross a frozen, not frozen, but close to freezing river. But kids, when they do typically get lost and disoriented in the mountains, it's their natural inclination to go downhill, not uphill. That's the natural inclination. How did this kid get there? What took him there? It wasn't a big cat. It wasn't a bear.
Did the kids say anything?
No. Here's the other most bizarre part about almost all these missing 411 cases. The people that are found alive, and I'll give you another story that I discovered, of all things, my mother-in-law's People magazine, which I loathe that thing, but it was just sitting there and I looked at it, I'm like, holy crap, this is a classic missing 411 story. And I'll get to that in a minute. But the thing is, the people that get taken and that do come back, they're either too young to articulate what happened, or they have some kind of, I don't want to use a totally out-of-date word like retardation, but they have something going on with their brain where they can't articulate well anyway. That's a common thing. Lots of people with conditions are taken. And even the ones that should be able to, whether they're adults or children, don't remember what happened. They don't remember. They have a blackout. So
there's always lost time situations, or they can't describe what happened to them?
Yeah, they're just like totally blank. Now, sometimes there are some interesting interpretations of what happened. So this was about 2 years ago, right in January. I've been January of 19 or 18. I don't remember now. But I was thumbing through this People magazine, and I see this article about this kid. So this is North Carolina on the coast. So the mountains are off in the western part of North Carolina. The coast is really low, flat. And this was an area where there's a tree farm that his grandmother lived on, and it had rained incredibly that year. And so everything was swampy and boggy. And it was a really cold year, too, for them up there. So this kid's 3 years old. He's playing out back with 2 other kids in his grandmother's backyard. The 2 other kids come back in, and he doesn't come in. So grandmother goes outside thinking he's just still out there playing. He's nowhere to be found. She's looking at the edge of the yard off into the woods. She's calling his name. Classic scenario like I keep describing. It's funny, when I look at my face in the viewer, I automatically cock my head for some reason. Anyway, so usual scenario, they get people out, they get a search crew going, can't find him. These guys are in frigid, every night it's going below freezing and it's soaking wet. They're walking in waist deep water in these woods and they're not finding anything. And this is a common feature of these missing 411 stories. A lot of the areas where these people eventually are found, whether they're dead or alive, are areas that had already been searched multiple times. Because these people comb over the same areas over and again to make sure before they expand their search. So 3 days later, this woman's jogging down the road and she hears this kid crying, coming from the woods. And there's a group of searchers not like but a few hundred yards from her. So she runs up to them and says, there's some kid in the woods over here. So they have to literally go into the woods, and these are adults going up to their waist in water, cold ass water. And they come to an area where the ground is raised, and the kid's sitting on dry ground on a little mound, just a small mound right above the water. And he's not hypothermic, but he's getting there. He's kind of like, I don't know, like getting towards the state, a little scratched up, but perfectly fine. They rescue him, they bring him in. First of all, they're like, how could a 3-year-old kid survive 28-degree weather in soaking wet, conditions? His clothes weren't wet. Okay. And if he were walking his way to that mound by himself, he would be up to here in water. So eventually, of course, they're just overjoyed that they've got their boy back, parents and the grandparents, right? So at first they don't even think to ask. But you know what happened when they asked him? How did you survive through this? And he said, the talking bear saved him. Yep. That's in the People magazine and the newspapers. let's think about this. He's 3 years old. He's probably never heard of Bigfoot. He's probably seen pictures of cartoon bears and other bears. They're big. They're hairy. I mean, I am speculating. I can't say I know what happened. I just thought it was fascinating that he said the talking bear saved him.
So you think in that situation, the Bigfoot guided him?
Well, but we also got to ask, why did he go missing? Did the talking bear take him to begin with? See, this is a duplicated story. There was a story like that back in years ago where a girl, her father was a miner, and he was out mining, and she would go with him, and she decided to go up the hill and hang out for a while. And this is back in the days we let our kids do whatever, right? We weren't all helicopter moms and dads. And she went missing. And once again, took a couple days to find her, but she came back home by herself. She was fine. She was maybe 4. She said that the talking monkey stayed with her and kept her warm and fed her. So I don't know. Now, those are incidents where possibly there was an actual physical animal. We don't know how he disappeared, Diane. That's a mystery. We'll never know. And of course, all he could do is reference it somehow with the talking bear. But what I know about bears is in North Carolina in January, in those conditions, they're hibernating. Okay. Secondary, bears aren't born. You know, it's just like chimpanzees. People watch these old movies with these friendly chimps thinking they can go up to a chimpanzee. They'll rip your arms off. Bears are not friendly to humans. They're obviously wary of us and probably want to keep away. And I just can't imagine a scenario where a black bear is lifting this child and talking to him and saving him. So it just made me think of all this when this guy said that's what's going on, because there are plenty of mysterious deaths where people literally seem to vanish into thin air. I mean, hundreds, if not thousands of cases. And it's in our state parks and our federal parks. And it's sometimes even outside of that on private land, you know. Once again, caveat is, I can't vouch for any of this guy's story. Mark Barnes, if y'all look up Mark Barnes, The Trail to Bigfoot, or Google it, I'm sure you will come across this. Or better yet, go to Bigfoot Odyssey, Mark Barnes, and pull up his interview. It is lengthy. Got to set aside some time to watch it. Maybe y'all look at it and see a whole different set of details that I don't see. You may say, "Oh, this is absolute BS." This guy, I just want to know what his motive is, if it is. And it could well be. I don't know the guy from Job, right? But a fascinating and terrifying story.
Right.
Now, I've never had anything like that in my experience. But I really did recently. I had an experience that I've read about by many people. Yes, Yogi the Bear was talking.
I love picnic baskets.
Hey, boo-boo.
That was pretty good.
So, I've always heard about this scenario happening, and it's never happened to me until in the last, it was about 2 months ago. I was out in one of my research areas, and this thing, you pull off the road and you pull in, and even when you get deep into the woods, you can sort of still hear the cars. Like, there's that David Byrne lyric where he's like, "If she can hear the highway breathing." I know what he means. He means like the sound of cars going by is kind of like a breath when it's in the distance, right? Like an exhalation or something. So you can sort of hear the cars off in the distance. But then, of course, you're in the woods, and so you've got frogs, insects, there's birds going. And I was walking through the woods on my own, and I've never gotten any really spooky vibes in there previously. I mean, I've found some really, really cool stuff, things that just don't seem to add up in terms of what nature would do. And I use that word loosely because everything's nature, right? You and me, Sasquatch, nature, you know what I mean? So I'm walking down this path in the woods, and then it was like flicking a light switch. Everything shut down. And it was, what is that cliche? The silence was deafening. It was so dead quiet. It was freaking me out. I'm like, why in this whole forest? And there may be some perfectly mundane other explanation that a biologist would be able to tell me. I admit that, right? But it was like for me, Walker, this is why did everything just turn off? And I felt, it's probably just the panic in me about it. I wouldn't say panic, but I felt like I was being watched. And so I turned on the camera, just I was like, I'm going to document this just in case, and it lasted for about 10 minutes, and then everything turned back on again.
Wow. All right. Well, who's still with me? That was the weekend review from the Shawn Yankey Show. We do that every Saturday night. I edit up the week and we watch it back. So that was us hanging out, watching the weekend review. Phil is awesome. Philip is an amazing guest and a fantastic storyteller. I love listening to him speak and tell stories. They are amazing. It was hard to pick a section to air, and it was hard to find something I could fit into a smaller amount of time. But I hope you enjoyed that. If you want to see the full episode with Philip, it is Friday's episode, and that is up on the Me on Things and Stuff YouTube channel and the Facebook page, the Shawn Yankey Show Facebook page. Oh yeah, we went for hours. We almost did 3 hours. We nearly did. We went for a long time. Microphone is terrible. You sounded pretty good though, man. The lighting was good. I thought it was great. Paul said he thinks we draw them to us with our frequency. And that's why you have these experiences. Hey, Ginger. Good to see you. Good to see some people still with us. Hey, that would be cool, Lolly. That would be neat. Like a paranormal segment with Philip. I would love that, to have him back regular. I don't know if he'd be down for something like that, but that'd be neat. Joan wants him to come back and talk about Hollow Earth. I don't know how much he knows about that, but that's 2 things now I need to reach out to him about. Joan says she's going to stay out of the woods because they are in Northwest Pennsylvania. You waiting on a rope for your cat tree? They're going to love that, but make sure you keep the box that it comes in because they will love that even more. I hope you have a lot of boxes for your cats. Cats love boxes. Ooh, sweet. He's down. That would be neat. I'm going to get with you about that. A recurring, like, paranormal segment. That would be awesome. All right, cool. Man, this little show's coming together, I'm telling you. But that's what we do, is we gather here on Saturdays, we watch it back. But every weeknight is a brand new episode of the Shawn Yankey Show. Every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then Tuesday mornings, we have our morning show, The Morning Yank. Me and Paul, old Top Fan, host a morning show for you. And that's Tuesday mornings. So we got a lot going on at the Shawn Yankey Show. And we gather every weekend and watch it all back, the highlights of it. But the lives are, like I said, every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then Morning Yank is 11 a.m. Eastern on Tuesday mornings. You got a 6-foot cat tower. It's pretty neat. And your cat is beautiful. Luna. I want to say she. I think you've said that it's a female. Is beautiful. I have a pregnant kitty right now. I'm getting ready to have kittens. Anybody want a kitten? I can't tell you what kind they are. They're multi-strays. As you know, I have 2 cats of my own that have decided, and this is by choice, that they want to live outside. So they come in from time to time, but they mostly live outside. They don't leave the yard, but they stay out there. Well, they've gathered some friends. There's probably 5 now cats that live in my backyard now, and a little community of cats. And at least 2 of them are boys, and one of my cats is now a mama kitty. And that's my fault. I should have gotten them fixed, especially when they made the choice to live outside. But no. Now it's 8 foot tall. That's badass. That would be neat. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for hanging out at the Week in Review and for sharing and taking part in the conversation. I love peeping out with you guys and getting to hang out with you and watch it back. So I really enjoy that. And I will see you Monday night for a brand new episode. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.